So in life, there are things that if you're going to call yourself a fan of it, you have to have done certain things. There are like prerequisites to being fans or enthusiasts of certain things. For example, I'm a huge Second Amendment guy. There are certain guns that you must have to call yourself a gun enthusiast. If you love action movies, if you love games, there's certain games you must have beaten or at least tried to play or owned at some point to call yourself a gamer. When it comes to horror, The Thing is one of those films that you have to have seen to call yourself a horror fan. I had never seen it until today. So this is my review on The Thing. But before we get into the review, you know what to do. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when I drop the next reviews. I'm going to start this by saying I am prepared to be completely and utterly dragged for what I'm about to say. And I'm comfortable saying that because I have not seen one horror fan say that they don't like The Thing. Every horror reviewer that I watch has The Thing in their top 3, and if not, top 5. Before I get into the reason why I say that, I'll say that the movie, I love the idea. I love the premise. And for anybody that's just a casual moviegoer, I'm talking about the original 1982 film directed by John Carpenter. Because there's a prequel that came out in 2011. I haven't seen that one yet. I'm going to watch it now just because of, I saw The Thing today, so I may as well go and watch the prequel. I just never got around to it, though, to this one. There's not really a reason. I just never got around to it. But again, if you're going to call yourself a fan, and it's October, it's my favorite month of the year, favorite holidays, Halloween, why not? Perfect time to see The Thing. Again, I love the idea. And there will be spoilers because the movie is so old. It's not like, it's a new release. The premise is an alien ship, vessel, whatever you want to call it, has crash landed on Earth. We don't see the crash landing. One of the scientists, this is in Antarctica, by the way. One of the scientists put the estimated time that ship was under the ice at about 100,000 years. So it's safe to say it's been there for a very long time. But we find that out later in the film. The way that the film starts, and I was so annoyed for not knowing what was happening. There are some Norwegian guys. We don't find out that they're Norwegian until a little bit later. There are some Norwegian guys in a helicopter shooting at this wolf dog. I mean, this dog's just running all over the place. These guys are trying their best to hit this dog. The dog looks like a normal wolf dog. I didn't see any problems. That dog runs into a camp where we have Kurt Russell as the main character, and then we have Keith David as another one of the main characters. The cast of guys at that research facility, I want to say is maybe 6 or 7 of them. But the dog runs there. You can tell that dog knows them. They're friendly or whatever. The Norwegian guys land the helicopter. Long story short, they end up blowing up, whatever. We find out shortly after, this freaking dog has The Thing inside of it. So The Thing is an extraterrestrial parasitic organism, basically. It tries to mimic whatever host it inhabits. But not only does it try to mimic that host, it basically keeps like a sample of the DNA from every host prior, right? So let's say when you see it and it, does its shape-shifting thing, it may come out of a dog, but you may also see remnants of a cat and a cow and a horse. It keeps all of that DNA data. And whenever it transforms, it just kind of shifts into a bunch of randomness and like a bunch of, just massive perversions of all of its previous hosts. So the first time this happens is that particular dog that the Norwegians were trying to shoot, we see why they were trying to kill it. It's the thing. So Kurt Russell's group takes the dog in, puts it in the kennel. They have about 6 or so other wolf dogs in there. That dog transforms into whatever the hell and kills some of those dogs. Long story short, you can see where that goes. However, wait a minute, quick point. Now that I'm thinking about it, we don't truly see like specifically how transmission is achieved, right? With zombies, we know without a doubt it's a bite. With vampires, we know without a doubt it's a bite. Some things are airborne. Whatever the hell was going on in World War Z had to be airborne. Whatever terrible nonsense was killing people in The Happening, obviously airborne. But here, I mean, you kind of can assume, you can make an educated guess that it's based on some type of bodily fluid, because whenever that thing transforms, it's spewing green goo and crap all over the place, right? But at the same time, that could be an airborne pathogen as well. Anyway, it's not a science lesson. So as the movie goes on, right, one of the really, really good things about it is that this is an amazing way to build tension. Anytime you have a film that has a shapeshifter aspect to it, that makes for some really good entertainment. Because now, divide and conquer, right? The parasite has to know that, because you have all these people in this space and everybody's looking at everybody else, because the thing could be either of you. Now I don't trust none of y'all. So I feel like that's the best thing that this film has going for it. I respect the special effects a lot, and that might be why everybody has it held to such a high regard, because the special effects are crazy for 1982. There's not a bunch of CGI, right? The most CGI that we actually get is when they go and they view the spaceship in the ice. The background is clearly CGI, right? But as far as the special effects, the artistry, right, the skill of the special effects artists to create these figures and these monsters, and some of these the creatures that it would create when it transformed were huge. So much respect to the VFX artists. But other than that, I think my biggest gripe about the film is I'm very cinematic minded. A lot of the cuts in the film, they felt random. It felt like there was something else that was supposed to happen after that, but then boom, cut, right? And The Exorcist is like that too. And I'm going to do a separate review on The Exorcist because I'm watching a lot of classic movies this month. But in that same way, it's like 5 seconds of this, 5 seconds of that. Now we're here. Wait a minute. But we didn't flesh out that last situation. So how did we get where we are now? There's a lot of that happens in The Thing. And maybe I'm just being too critical, because as that stuff was happening, all I could think about is, and this is what people keep putting in the top 3. It feels so freaking random. But maybe that's because of, again, how well done the suspense and the special effects are done. Those are by far the movie's main strengths, because you don't know. There's even a scene where Kurt Russell's character, he has come up with a way to test everyone's blood to see who might be carrying the thing. Essentially what that was, his theory was that every time you try to kill that thing, part of it will break off and become a totally separate thing. So he's like, okay, on a cellular level, each of the cells inside of this thing is fighting to have its own life. So if we take a sample of everybody's blood, put it in different petri dishes, I'm going to heat up this metal rod and tap the blood. If the DNA from the thing is in that blood sample, the blood sample should react a certain type of way. Well, he happens to be right, because that's what happens. But the suspense is so great because us as the viewer, we don't know either, right? Sometimes you have films where we know who it is. We saw such and such touch such and such, and we know it's him, and he's like hiding in the corner or something. Here, we have no idea. Literally no one knows. Not us, nor the actors, or you know what I mean, the characters. So he takes each of these petri dishes and he taps the metal rod into the dish. But every time we thought we would see a reaction, we get nothing. To where when you look at the characters, you even see them starting to lose faith in the situation. Because also, the guy who's performing the test, Kurt Russell's character, he's got everybody else tied up. They're all tied by rope to like various chairs. So they're just stuck. And he's not releasing people until he taps your blood sample with that rod. Nothing happens. He'll let you up. Right as he's talking about who's going to go last, because he's pretty much confident that that person is the thing, he taps the rod into a sample and the sample freaking goes crazy. That's proper suspense. Very well done. Nice jump scare. Wasn't cheap. Wasn't cheesy. Wasn't just a random bang. And, you know, because that's so cheap. And that, I think that shows a lack of experience and honestly a lack of skill, when the only way that you can kind of have an effective jump scare is by causing an extremely loud noise in a very quiet place. Anybody's going to react to that. But the thing, that scene definitely is a masterclass on how you do a well done jump scare. It's like sleight of hand, right? It's like misdirection. You know, those guys that take your money on the corner with the little, what is it called? 3-card Monty or whatever the heck it is. It's like that. It's all about redirection and misdirection. And the trick here was talking about one person, building up that confidence in us to where we also believe that it's that person, while you're testing a different sample, but it happens to be that sample and not the person you're talking about. Great job. Amazing job. So after that happens, of course, we get several sequences of, you know, various transformations and things. The movie builds up to a boss fight, right? And someone who actually had been separated from everybody else during a time where he was not the thing. He was actually perfectly fine, but they separated him from everyone because he just kind of had a meltdown. He had a meltdown. He started destroying a lot of machinery and things. And so they kind of thought that he had something going on and they separated him from everybody else. Again, he was fine at that time. right? But it's too late when they find that out, because now he actually is the thing, and he's the boss thing. And so we have the boss fight. Two characters survive. Even though I've given a bunch of spoilers, I won't say who those two characters are. But the movie closes out in a very open-ended fashion. We don't know if either of them is infected. We don't know if because several times in the film, they talked about how cold it was outside. Again, this is Antarctica. And a storm had come through towards the end of the second act. So they talked about several times. I mean, it got down to -60. I heard them say once. I've heard -40, -100. It's freaking cold. So we have two people left. They've blown up the research facility, and they're just outside. So we can assume that either one of them was the thing and killed the other. Neither of them was the thing, and they died from being too cold, hypothermia or whatever. I know no one came to rescue them, because they had one guy several times in the film trying to get help out there, and no one ever answered. So I have no reason to believe that anyone ever showed up after that. So my guess, and again, this is one great thing about it, is because whoever you are, your opinion is your opinion, and because none of us knows, right? So this is a good point where people can kind of talk about what their theories might be. But my theory is that they both simply died from being cold. I don't think either of them was the thing. I think that was it, right? They just left it at that. It faded to black. Two people left in the story. I think in probably a few hours they died. But I'm interested in seeing the Thing prequel, because I'm hoping that, one, we go far back enough, even if it's only for a moment, and then we come to the present time for that film. I really would like to see the crash landing, and the Norwegians who were shooting at the dog before the dog ran to the other facility. I really hope we dive into whatever they were doing and what specifically they saw before that thing got into the dog. Because if they were shooting at it, they knew without a doubt that it was in the dog. So I would love to see that and kind of see how those things played out before that point. So that's my review of the Thing. I know in the beginning I kind of talked about it like I would have said it was trash. I don't feel like it was trash at all. I actually enjoyed it. It was cool. I love the premise of it. I don't give it not even top 5 of my all-time favorites, but I definitely say if you're a true horror buff, I think it's worth the watch. I think the biggest thing that makes me not score it extremely high is because of what I'm just going to call cinematic pacing. The way that they did those cuts, to me, and John Carpenter's a legend. So it's like, even in my head, I'm fighting with myself on the next words, because how can you say any of these things about a legend such as him? But those cuts, well, I mean, he's a legend, but maybe he didn't edit it. So I guess it's not his fault, but a lot of those cuts felt very jumpy, very rushed, and just like they were lacking information. Almost like if you've ever edited a film, it's like whatever happened before the cut was messed up, but they wanted to retain that footage, and the back half of the footage worked. So they were like, you know what? Just cut it right here. That's what it felt like in a lot of the scenes. But overall, I think it's worth the watch. I enjoyed it. I don't hate that I watched it. I'm happy that I finally got to see the Thing. So if you've seen it, if you haven't, still jump down in the comments. Let me know what you intend to do. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when I drop the next reviews. See y'all next time.